Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 41 of the Living Better podcast. And today I am meeting with my friend Melissa West and her husband Tim, and we're going to discuss the yoga business that they created. So together, they run two successful and huge YouTube channels. One is Yoga with Melissa, and the other one is Yoga Lifestyle with Dr. Melissa West. And they also have their own website, melissawest.com. And they live currently in Victoria, BC. They're a power couple, friends of mine, and they're just amazing. And Melissa is so kind-hearted. She's definitely doing a lot of good and sharing her yoga practices with the world. And that's how I initially started my own YouTube channel, Yin Yoga with Matt, when I was following a depression and I started doing yoga to feel better. It was COVID, so I was doing yoga from home. And Melissa was one of the first channels of yoga that I found upon just a quick search on the YouTube bar. And I fell in love with the Yin Yoga practice. And I loved it so much that I decided to become an instructor. And now Melissa and I are doing collaboration work, and we became more friends than actually YouTube acquaintances. And they're amazing people. Her and Tim, they're just so genuine. They're a power couple. They love life. They laugh. They're having a good time, and they're creating something that is life-changing for a lot of people in this world. And this is what's beautiful about what they're doing. So we're going to dive into that today, and we're going to talk about all sort of subjects, from the relationship to the creation of a business and how to run a business, the stresses or the obstacles that come with it. We're talking about various books, growing. It's just a beautiful interview. And what's special about today is at the moment that I wanted to record this interview with them, I was rushed to the hospital with Jodi because she had contractions. As you know, we got our little baby girl, Mila Rose, now, but at the time, it was quite stressful. And because of COVID, I couldn't do anything else and stay in my car. So we recorded the whole interview directly from my car, waiting to pick up Jodi after her assessment. And the audio is not that good on my part because I was using AirPods. So just bear with me and understand where it comes from. But we made it work all together. It was a unique experience, and I'm sure you're going to love this interview. So let's get right into it.
Well, all right, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Living Better podcast. This is an episode I've been looking forward to, and we are so busy, Melissa and I, that we've been rescheduling this back and forth for a while and expecting my baby girl. Now I'm doing it remotely from my car because my wife is in, and we're waiting to see if she's admitted to deliver her baby girl or not. So in the meantime, I figured, let's do this podcast. So Melissa West, she's a big YouTube, I call her a superstar, but she's been in the YouTube game for a long time. And what she teaches is yoga. So you're an online yoga teacher, and you've been doing this for, I think, over 11 years, you were saying?
Yeah, we're coming up on our 12th year, yeah.
Yeah, and 12th year, yeah. And she has her own website, melissawest.com. She runs a membership program there that people can sign up to do your specialized yoga class, part of the membership. And you have two big YouTube channels. You have Yoga with Melissa and Yoga Lifestyle with Dr. Melissa West. And they're both over 60K subscribers. So you're a big name in the game of online yoga. And I've been looking forward to this because I wanted to know a little bit more about you and Tim's story and how you guys got into this and the challenges you've been facing. So let's start from the beginning. Welcome on the show, Tim West, Melissa West. Nice to be with you today.
Well, it's very kind of you to have us on your show. Yeah. We're excited to be here.
Thanks, Matt. It's been such a joy to get to know you over the last little while. I found you on YouTube, and I've been enjoying your classes too. And also I really feel connected to you through your story too. So thank you so much for having us here.
It's my pleasure. Seriously. I mean, you're an inspiration of success. I don't know the struggles behind the story, but I can see the success, and you two are shining, and you're a power couple. So that really was drawing me and Jodi towards you guys, because I mean, I'm sure you have an interesting story, and this is what we're here to talk about today. So let's go all the way back to when you started maybe being interested in yoga, Melissa.
So I first started getting interested in yoga when Tim and I got married, which is 25 years ago now.
Wow.
So Tim and I, before I married Tim, I was quite active, and I lived in a small university town. I walked everywhere, and so that was good. I was healthy. I was active. I kept a good weight on my body, and then I married Tim, and I moved to Toronto, in a suburb of Toronto, and we had to drive everywhere. So Tim and I got a personal trainer because I started eating like him and living like him. And so I put on a lot of weight immediately. And so I decided, actually, I was working out a lot, and I thought, well, this is, remember, this is 25 years ago. So yoga 25 years ago was kind of fringe and different. I thought, well, I'll do yoga once a week just to stretch. So I went to a yoga class at his dojo, and I'll never forget my first experience, because there were two things that really stood out to me about it, and they had nothing to do with the stretch I experienced. One was I had this tremendous release through my kidneys. Like I just had to. This might sound funny, but I had to pee like nothing before. Like my kidneys just released like incredibly. And the other thing was I was relaxed like nothing I had experienced before. My voice probably dropped about 2 octaves, and like I felt like my voice was really in my body in a way that it had never been before. So I got that yoga bug, that feeling, and then you just have to keep going back. So that was my experience.
Okay. And where do you come in the picture, Tim?
Well, that's a good question. Where do I come in?
Yes. How did it started? Like your love story.
So Melissa's, getting into yoga, and at about the same time.
But where did we meet? Do you want to go back that far?
Oh, where did we meet? Is that what you're asking? I misunderstood.
Yes. Yes. Where did you meet? How did your love story started?
Oh, okay. Sure. Why not? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I got a job at a golf club in Muskoka, which is a little, very nice little part of the world. It's about a couple hour drive north of Toronto, and it's a very secluded area. And at this particular golf course, Melissa was already working there, and she was working in the pro shop, and I was converting the accounting system over to a computerized accounting system.
To see how old we are.
I was a student at university, and she was not. She was in high school, and she used to run the chits down, as they call them, which are CHITS. Because back in those days, there was no exchange of funds. There was no monetary exchange at the club.
Golf club.
Everything was signed for and then billed at the end of the month.
Okay.
So she would run down every day and drop off these the receipts, and I would look after them, and I just thought she was kind of cute. So we met.
So we met at a summer job. Yeah, I was
at your summer job.
Yeah,
at our
I
summer
was 16
job,
and he was 20.
She was less than 20.
Yeah.
So now going back to the YouTube, I know, Tim, you're a big supporter of what Melissa does. You're always behind the scenes. You're filming everything, recording everything, helping her out with all the technical and logical aspect of everything that's going on behind the scenes. So how hard is it for you to, are you following her on this journey every day? Are you guys doing this full time together, or you have something of your own that's totally separated and you manage both?
No, we are together. We are partners, 100%.
But it did. So we were, but we weren't always full time in this, right? It started as a side hustle, and Tim had his own thing going on, and he always did the technology side of things. But when we lived in Toronto, Tim had his own business as well, and we just gradually moved over to this being our full time thing.
Yeah, we were living in Toronto, and then about 7 years ago this May, we made the decision that we would sell everything that we were doing in Toronto, business, home, furnishings, everything. And the three of us, we have a daughter, and the three of us hopped in an old car and drove all the way along from Toronto to Victoria, BC, which is on the far west coast of Canada on an island called Vancouver Island. And it's been quite a journey. So, of course, when we sold everything there, we had the only thing we could rely on was our YouTube business.
Yeah, 3 years in, I went full-time. 5 years in, Tim went full-time. Yeah.
Wow. So in turning this side hustle into a full-time business, how long did it take you to do so that even Tim can jump on board with you and completely disregard his business, leave everything behind, so that both of you can come together as a couple and live from this?
It was 5 years.
Yeah, it was about 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
5 years.
We could have done it more quickly. It's just that living in Toronto at the time, we had a lot of overhead and a lot of costs associated with living in the city. Multiple cars, big house, renters, my businesses. And so the long and the short of that is that we had to focus and recognize what we could do. And we realized that we could actually basically get rid of all our debt and just focus on the business and allow it to grow. And by extending the season of filming, that is the outdoor season for yoga. We just find Canada's beautiful, and there's so many beautiful places to film. But, Toronto in January, as you well know, it's going to be inhospitable. There's no chance of us being able to film outdoors. So,
well, you should see what Matt's doing right now.
Oh, what are you doing?
He's doing a Wim Hof style yoga
are you
outside.
really?
Yeah. So don't get any ideas from Matt, because I'm totally unwilling.
No, Melissa won't film below 10 degrees. I have a
threshold of 10 degrees that
10
I
degrees
require.
and lower. There's no filming outside.
I am not one to film yoga in the cold.
You're doing filming in the snow?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, you are a crazy Canuck.
Yeah.
Good for you. That sounds like fun.
I said, Matt, you're totally savage. It's not for me.
So in building this business, I mean, you're an inspiration, obviously, because a lot of more people nowadays are trying to be entrepreneurs. They're trying to start up their own team and to move away from working from somebody into creating your own business. So that doesn't come without its challenges. So what were the main challenges that you guys experienced that you had to overcome to be able to be that successful and completely free yourself from everything else to be living from a passion of yours, Melissa? And I don't know for you, Tim, if you do yoga with her as well, or you're just the supporter behind, but this is amazing. So I want to hear about how, like, everything that happened up to now.
So I think the missing ingredient that a lot of people have, because we get this question asked of us a lot.
Yes.
And that question is really simply answered in that it wasn't whether we had to learn how to do something. It wasn't that we had some genius moment. To put it succinctly, it had to work.
Yeah, we had no plan B.
Right? There was no plan B. Like, it had to work. We had to work out how to monetize, how to really focus. And at the very beginning there, we made a decision. We were very, very fortunate at the time. If you don't mind, I'll mention the person whose systems we sort of focused on. He's an Australian businessman / entrepreneur / business strategist, I suppose. His name is James Schramko. And he had a podcast at the time, and the podcast that he was co-hosting with, his name was
Tim Reed. So we listened to James Schramko and Tim Reed, and they had a podcast called Freedom Ocean.
That's right.
And they laid out, you got to remember, this was 12 plus years ago when online business was really new. They laid out several different business models of online businesses. And we listened very closely to those and decided which model that we felt that we would go with. Because we were on YouTube at this point for a couple of years, and we realized that we were doing all this work, but there was no return on the investment for us. So we quickly realized that we needed a way to recoup our costs, because you're online. It costs money to give away free yoga, right? It costs
a lot of time
significant
too.
It's time and camera
money.
Equipment.
And it actually costs money to put things on the internet. And the more people you have, the more it costs. I don't think people actually realize that.
No.
So yeah, once we had determined our business model, we just stayed with it, and we have continued to do so for the past almost 11 years now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you have to remember at the beginning, Matt, of our career on YouTube, YouTube had limits on how long the videos could be, which meant we actually had to pay another company, which has since gone out of business, to host our full-length videos. And we would put little 5 and 10-minute videos up on YouTube and direct them to this other business, to the videos to watch. And we were one of the first channels to actually get the lift, get the
access to
the time limit lifted in Canada.
So you had some stick in the wheels with YouTube in the beginning. It wasn't what it is today.
No, and I think that's something as well, is that we came through at a time, like the barrier to entry to get videos up onto YouTube 10 years ago. I mean, we were recording high definition onto tape, and then we were exporting that tape onto a computer, digitizing it onto a computer, then editing it in our program. The program would quite often crash. Then it would be, attempting to upload that video compressed really, really tightly, and then uploading those huge files to YouTube. And they would literally take all night. And I would wake up the next day and check. And sure enough, a lot of the time the video would fail in its upload. So but the barrier to entry now.
We used to babysit them through the night. And I often tell people that our release day on our main channel is Friday, because it would take all week to get the video up.
Okay.
And now we can literally record a video and live stream it in 1080p. I mean, there's no time frame difference. It's crazy.
And the other thing was, when I started on video, the other thing that I often speak about, when I started on video, there were no front-facing cameras. So actually being on video was a completely different experience. You would film, and then the feedback that you would get was watching it later. It wasn't like now, when you can watch yourself and see what your persona is like on camera with a front-facing camera. So it was a completely different time to be on camera.
So all you would see is the lens, and you didn't know what it looks like or what's going on.
Yeah, you were communicating with the lens. There were no flip screens, and
That's right, no flip screens.
Yeah.
So for you to transition into this, like, how long did it take before the side hustle became your main income? Did you just went full on with it, like all in, like poker, sold everything, invested everything in there, and it had to work, like you said?
Yes.
Or did you because to fuel all the equipment and the financial needs to grow your channel and everything.
Well, so what we did was we had a business plan that we worked on, as we mentioned, listening to James and recognizing that having a membership community was going to be the way that would satisfy that particular requirement for us.
Yeah.
And what we did was we started off, we did something called, basically first iteration, first version of the business. And so Melissa and I put together a membership site on a self-hosted website, if you like, and we offered it out to people at a very low price. And over the years, what we've done is just had different versions of that same membership community. As we've grown, the prices have increased, but those that signed up at the very beginning were grandfathered in. So if somebody who has signed up and been a member for the last 6 or 7 years, they pay less money than people who are coming in today, as a way of saying thank you from us for being an early adopter or an early member to the community.
But I think also what Matt's asking is that at the beginning, for the first 3 years, I taught yoga. I did yoga therapy. I did Thai massage. For the first 5 years, Tim also had his own businesses, and you continued to work on the side as well. So you did web development. You sold cars back in Toronto. So, we always did whatever it took to cover our expenses. So,
absolutely. That was my question. Because I mean, to start this off, you need to have some sort of money to fuel your projects and move them forward. And you spend a lot more in the beginning than you get back. But unfortunately, that's the way entrepreneurs and the business works. But, it's was there days that you felt like giving up, that it just wasn't giving you the return on the amount of hours, time, and investment you were putting in? or were you always so dedicated and focused that no matter what, you didn't care? You were going for it, and that's it.
I've never thought about giving up.
No, I haven't either.
No.
It never occurred to me to give up.
No.
But the first part of the question, absolutely. Yeah. There are times when we've had some very dark moments in our time.
We've never thought of giving up on yoga with Melissa, and we've gone through very challenging times.
Okay.
Recently,
and would you mind sharing that if it's not too personal? Or
no, I don't mind at all. I mean, as a lot of people probably do, we struggled with. We experienced some debt. We experienced some tax issues that we had to resolve. We've had challenges with within the family unit. Like things that any other Canadian or any other family around the world would experience. We've experienced it, and when those times occur,
we've had health problems too.
What?
Health problems.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, Melissa suffered from very acute migraines. There were times when Melissa had a migraine. The first migraine where all of a sudden it was right in our face. And that first migraine lasted for months. And for anybody that hasn't had experience of a migraine, that is just, that's ice pick to the brain levels of pain. Just awful. She was medicated. We had, specialists looking at her, and it was a very, very large hurdle to overcome, or an obstacle, challenge, what have you. It was very dark indeed, Matt. So yeah, I remember those times. And that, in fact, one of the benefits of living here in Victoria is the climate here is much more mild, and that's had a real positive effect on her migraines.
More temperate because it's not so extreme. So yeah.
We don't get the minus 30 plus 20.
Yeah, no, exactly. Were you able to figure out what was the cause of that and eliminate it, or you're still battling migraines even today?
I still get them. They're just they're not as severe. I think it was probably a lot of it had to do with it was perimenopause and menopause, and I also know a lot more of my triggers now. So but there are some aspects of that I just can't control still. So yeah, both. Yes, I have sorted. A lot of it is better, and no, sometimes they're out of our control, as many health issues are, as many people who have health issues know that it's just not something that you can control. If we can control our health issues, nobody would be sick, right?
Yeah. And
a great question.
Wanted to ask, thanks. And I wanted to ask, in terms of, because you run an online business, you do your own schedule. Now, with doing your own schedule comes, having the focus and structure to not slack or to be consistent. So do you have a set schedule that you put together when you keep time for yourself as a couple, time for your own activities? How do you go about managing an online business in terms of structure?
This is challenging, isn't it?
It's a challenge, right? You're talking about work-life balance. When we work from home, and we're hopefully at the tail end of COVID
we
here.
were in a better position pre-COVID, for sure.
Yeah, I think that, you end up being in lockdown, so you end up in your own home, which of course means, well, we might as well work.
Yeah, when you work from home.
We've done 30-day challenges where we went and recorded 30 10-minute videos out in the forest because we knew there would be absolutely no noise because of COVID. There were no airplanes, no cars, nothing. So we sort of, we just put our heads down and just kept working. We do find it a little bit tricky, but typically what we try to do every week is book one day off where we don't do anything to do with work. We'll go for a hike, go up island, go down to the ocean. We live right on the ocean, so go for long walks and hikes. But that's even been tricky as of late, even just scheduling that, because you can get a little bit of life and a little stuff gets in the way, and you end up, oops, we forgot to do something this week.
It's easy to work all the time, but I'm actually very regimented, and we are quite regimented in our schedule. It is easier to schedule for work. I follow the traditional Chinese medicine clock. I'm currently writing a book called the elemental
Wow.
self, 5-element Yin Yoga. And so
Congrats.
I really thank you. I really carve out my time every day between 9 and 11, which is my best time for writing, to be writing, because otherwise everything else can crowd out that time. And then we try to at around 11 to get in some kind of exercise, the two of us.
Yeah,
And
great.
then taking that break midday to have our biggest meal of the day. I mean, it sounds maybe kind of simple, but it is really easy to work all the time when you're at home.
I think also
Yeah,
we
no,
have
definitely.
to have that structure in place because we also have staff, right? There's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not just Melissa and I. We have other
Okay.
other people that are looking for files or looking for certain things, and we use Asana, for example, software to just help just help ensure that the team is getting the information that they need. They're getting the videos, they're getting scheduling, they're looking after people in the community with technical issues, that sort of thing. So. So
Okay.
that the just having that, knowing exactly what we have to do the day before is, and being scheduled. And Melissa's really good. I mean, she's scheduled things probably. I'm gonna guess
She's very
probably
organized.
Yes, I was gonna say she's probably 6 months ahead for planning of classes.
we are very organized and we are very planned. And I do have a project manager on our team because you have to be as you scale.
And I think it's a real strength that Melissa has with the organizational things. I mean, she completed her master's and her PhD, so she's got that sort of that drive, right, Matt, to just get things done.
Yeah.
And that scheduling and that ability to look at the long
vision.
Vision's a better word. Thank you.
That's part of my strength, is to see the big picture and to have a vision for the big picture, for the organization, for the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And talking about that, you studied different things and you became a doctor, but you didn't pursue that profession, and you're now all into yoga. So if you can talk a bit about that and how you made the shift from doing all this education to finally do something totally different.
So to me, it's not different at all, because I was and I guess maybe to other people it is different, but so I was in education before. The difference to me is that I created my own system, or my own education system, my own classroom. Okay. So I'm still an educator. And I'm just not within the traditional education system. But anybody who takes classes with me knows that they're chocked full of education. I offer courses in my community. So I'm still, the part that I love the most about university, about being a PhD student and about teaching there, was the teaching, was the research. I'm still doing all those things because I'm writing my book now. There's a lot of research in that. There's a lot of writing in that. And then, there's just a lot of educating still happening. And I'm just kind of laughing to myself because I'm going to be teaching my first minimal cues class on Friday. I've never taught a minimal cues class because I just can't find it in me. I'm an educator and I think, like, why are you coming to my class if you don't want me to teach you? Like, I get, and it's not that I don't get the importance of holding space, but it's just that a teacher archetype is so strong in me that, I just. So
that's going to be your own challenge, trying to contain your words and bring it to a minimal.
Well, I mean, I'll do it. It's just, it's like, I don't understand why you could just like put your timer on and have a list of poses. I don't understand why we do it this way.
Yeah. But no, it's so amazing. And you're running like a very successful business, and it must be so time consuming. And that's something that people don't understand from being an entrepreneur. You guys put in a lot more than 40 hours a week into what you're doing, but you have a passion for it. for it. And that's what makes it easier, right? To be able to put all these hours into a project, and the classes and the teaching and the video editing and all that comes with it, playing with the audio. And it's a lot of work. I do it myself, and I'm just at the beginning stages, and I can't even start to comprehend what you guys are facing on a regular week compared to what I'm doing. But go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to say, I mean, the most important thing is just like you've done, right? Is that you've started, and you started that learning process. And, Melissa's teaching style has evolved over the time. My filming has hopefully improved over the years. Yeah. So, the sound quality should be better than it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago. The visual elements, the cueing, the background, we get interactions because of where we live. We've had deer in the background. We've had orca swim by. We've had dogs run up and give Melissa a big lick across the face. We get lots of fun things happening, and it's so important to capture that and to capture the essence. So, and that comes with just, hours and hours of practice. And literally, tomorrow, Friday morning at 9 o'clock, another Yoga with Melissa will be live. This will be episode 563, which means for 563 weeks in a row, we've put out video content on that channel. A video has gone out. This one tomorrow happens to be a live class. But, moving forwards, if somebody looks at the episode, with that comes an awful lot of wisdom and knowledge. And I just, Melissa and I both love it. I teach filmmaking and photography, and I do a lot of photography and a lot of filmmaking on the outside of the business as well. And that's because I just love doing it. And Melissa loves doing yoga, and she loves teaching it. So it's an absolute win-win for the two of us.
Yeah, no, it seems like you're the perfect couple and combination for the business, because you're doing, you like all the yoga and the teaching and doing all the classes, and Tim likes all the techie stuff and putting the editing, the videos and everything. So the two together are getting a kick out of what you're doing. And for you, Tim, are you doing yoga? Have you ever taken Melissa's classes?
So I'm on day 22 of her 30-day program right now. No, I have successfully avoided doing yoga for these last 11 years, but these last 22 days, 3 weeks have been really, really good. But that's a personal thing. I've just finally get my head around the fact that yoga might actually be really good for me.
Well, for a lot of people, that's what it is. Sometimes they tend, especially more so, I believe, for men, right? Because we tend to think that yoga is more of a feminine practice, and we see yoga classes, it's usually a bunch of women doing together all sort of poses, and we don't see the benefits of doing yoga. It's like, that's boring, whatever. But it's once you start experiencing and you get out of your comfort zone and your shell, and you're like, what, I'll put my ego aside, I'll go there and I'll try it, and then you start seeing the benefits. So I'm sure you actually felt some of those benefits right now, Tim, if you want to talk about it, your 22 days.
Sure. I mean, I'll be really short and succinct. Yes, it's been awesome. Yes, it works. The other really important piece of information people might want to know is that even though I filmed 567 episodes, plus we have another yoga channel where we've filmed over 1,000 episodes of different things over the years. Nothing beats actually doing it. No matter watching it actually helps. It doesn't help at all. You actually have to do it. Just like Nike says, just do it. Sadly. And I might have picked up a few of the terms, and I sort of have an idea where we're going with certain things, but no, you have to do it.
For you, Melissa, how has yoga transformed your life or any aspect of your life? What did you get out of it that you could share with the audience?
I think no stone's been left unturned by yoga for me. Like, at this point, I can't really separate my life from yoga. Does that make sense? So it's transformed my relationship with myself, my relationship with those that I'm in relationship with. It's transformed my relationship with the world around me. I mean, maybe that sounds like a cop out of an answer, but it's changed the way that I think if we go back to the beginning, like I got into it to stretch, right? To change my physical body, which I think most people get into it for. But where I am right now is if I'm thinking about why I come to my yoga mat today, it really has mostly to do with my mental, my mind, my energy, and my emotions and spiritual connection. So it has very little to do with the physical body, although the physical body is the vehicle by which I access all of those other things. So does that make sense?
Yes, no, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And my next question is going to be asking you, and doing this for almost 12 years now and being a teacher, are you still learning things in yoga, or are you pretty much done everything so far?
Yeah, I'm still learning. I'm always learning. I'm always finding out things that I don't know. Yeah. It's such a huge, vast field. Yeah. And the thing that I love right now is that when the field of yoga is changing, constantly changing, which I love. It's constantly changing and adapting. And when I got into yoga, it was very centered on the tradition. We had to know the Sanskrit words and how to pronounce them, and you had to teach it like Iyengar, and that was the Bible and the way to do it. And over the last 20 years, things have really loosened, and thankfully, I think. I mean, there are other people that think differently, and that's fine. I think we're all entitled to our own opinions, but that's where I stand on it. I really love that we've got things that have come in, such as myofascial release, which I'm a big fan of. I mean, I think if it works, why wouldn't we bring it in? If it's effective, why wouldn't we bring it in? And also, like I love Yin Yoga. Like there's many branches of yoga. So I sit in the Yin Yoga camp. I love Yoga Nidra. I love restorative yoga. But I also am really loving, because I'm Gen X, but I really love the energy that the millennials are bringing into the yoga right now. They bring a freshness to it. They're not afraid to bring in things from other fields, such as what we've covered on our collabs, like astrology, tarot. They're not. We're letting fields overlap more and bringing things in more, and I think yoga is richer for it. I'm not talking about beer yoga and goat yoga, right? But I'm talking about, like, let's allow what lights us up to come into our physical, spiritual, mental, emotional practice, that we don't have to be so rigid. Because, as I said, I came into the field when it was very traditional and very rigid. And I think that, a lot of us were raised in traditions, in systems that were rigid, and that can be quite oppressive and not healthy. And so I really love what's happening with the field of yoga in that way, personally.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. There's a lot of people bringing more a creativity aspect to their yoga teaching, and they're bringing elements of what they like and their passions, and they're blending it in. And I think we see more of that nowadays. Yes, like you said, with the new generations and stuff.
Yeah, and I love it. I'm so there for it. Like the millennials say, I'm there for it.
So outside of running this big business you guys created together, what are your other passion or interests? I know you, Tim, you seem to be into UFC. It's a big thing I like. I saw a few pictures of you, and you seem to like that. And I do personally enjoy UFC as well. So,
But Tim has his own YouTube channel too.
Yes, I do. I have a YouTube channel that I just started up about a year ago. It's called Tim's Electric, where I review electric vehicles, electric scooters, electric bicycles, pretty much I'm fascinated by electrically mobile devices like that. We have an electric airplane that's going to be a little electric seaplane that's going to be flying out of just around the corner here, out of Victoria Harbor in the coming months. So there's so that's something I like to do. I do really enjoy doing photography. So pre-COVID, it was a lot of fashion shows and portrait photography. Modeling agencies would hire me for doing, test shoots and that sort of thing. Love soccer. I'm a very big guy. I'm not very good at soccer, but I absolutely love it. And
awesome.
I do like the UFC and cage fighting. I don't do it at all. Looks like I'm going to get back into some level of training. I'm just hitting the bag again. But you're the part of the world where people like GSP and that sort of thing all came from that part of the part of Quebec, and I'm just always amazed by the warrior spirit, if you like, of martial artists. So yeah,
definitely.
What about camping and hiking? The things we do together.
Oh,
you
sorry,
didn't even mention those.
We do a lot. We live in this beautiful part of the world where I don't really think of it. That's just our day in and day out. But yes, we do a lot of hiking. If I'm going to be really, really frank about it, for me, a perfect day is to wake up in Banff for Jasper.
Yeah, it seems like you're at the best spot for that.
Pardon? Strathcona here on the island. Waking up in nature in a campsite, and just going out there. Last fall we had the privilege and pleasure to be able to visit Jasper again, and photographing bears. I saw my first moose. It's as a photographer, it's amazing. So yeah. So those are the sort of things.
It's a beautiful part.
It's a fabulous park. It's an amazing country we live in. I'm just so blessed and grateful. And, and that province of Alberta's got some amazing places as well.
Yeah. What a good idea to ditch Toronto to move there.
Yeah, although Toronto has its beautiful spots, right? Like once you get out, Muskoka, you go up to Algonquin and places like that. I think it was just for us, it was a change, and that change could have happened, by going into Northern Ontario. But I think my daughter, in particular at the time, was interested in doing some form of ocean sciences of some kind, and so Ontario was out of the question for that. So we chose the West Coast.
So when COVID's over, Matt, you and Jodi and baby Melrose, you got to come out here and visit.
For sure, we would love to.
And then we can do a bunch of filming together too.
No, that'd be awesome. Fun. That's a good idea. Yeah.
And if you misbehave, we'll feed you to the killer whales.
No, we won't.
They're so much fun.
They're going to have a baby that needs parents.
Nobody goes swimming with the killer whales. They always seem to get out.
Yeah.
You definitely have to come out here and visit.
It seems gorgeous. I was actually at Victoria for the Olympics, the 2010 Olympics with the Army. So I was in the Army at the time, and we were there as a backup unit in terms of in case something happens, because they didn't know how it was going to go. But I was able to get out of my camp. I was kind of like on a trailer park security camp where we didn't have much freedom to explore and go out, since we needed to be on standby, and they didn't want us to get drunk or go sidetrack from the reason we were there in the first place. I didn't get a chance to really explore much, but I went to Jericho Beach, which I thought was beautiful. You know that place?
I don't know Jericho Beach. Do you?
I don't know that one.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe it's somewhere close to the base.
It's in Victoria.
It must be close to the base.
We were in Victoria. I just don't know the name Jericho Beach. I'll have to look that one up. That's awesome. I mean, you would think
it was near the camp where we were.
It's probably close to it's probably on the base. That's probably why.
Oh, okay. Maybe, maybe at the base. Were you on the base?
Well, it was kind of like a trailer park that they created for us, which would be a little outside the base, I believe. Yeah. We were like kind of right there with the public, but just with fences. Yeah. But anyways, no, it was, from what I saw, the temperature was nice. The place was awesome, but I wish I could have explored a bit more. So I'll definitely take you up on that offer and come over there.
You're welcome. You come.
I just
only if you bring Jodi though.
Pictures. Yeah, she will come for sure. She's my little travel bug there. She's the one who got me into enjoying traveling. She loves it. She loves to, you know how she is. She loves to talk to people and stuff and connect and go around and meet new people. And she's so passionate about everything. So,
Awesome.
yeah. Yeah. So coming back to you two, 25 years together, totally unrelated subject to yoga. What are the tricks to make your relationship work?
Oh, that's easy.
Long?
Oh, that's really simple.
What is it? I was going to say therapy.
I was going to say therapy too.
Okay.
But I don't just mean making sure you have a therapist in your life, but I mean like just be willing to stretch and learn and recognize. I mean, we've had some revelations just in the last week, believe it or not, Matt. And I can't about it going like, oh, I'm in my 50s. I wish I'd learned this 25 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's both of us have a willingness to learn and grow.
Okay.
And I think when you both have a willingness to learn and grow, that is what makes a relationship work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
If you didn't, then how would your relationship grow and evolve?
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
That would drive me crazy.
But yeah, having a good therapist it's
and don't get us wrong, we've had like 4 therapy sessions in the last.
We've had different points in our life where
Right.
we've gone to therapy. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I totally agree with you because, you know a little bit of my story when I went to depression after my dad committed suicide and everything. And obviously the depression drew like me and Jodi apart, and and trying to reconnect after the damages was done, we went to a couple counseling and we saw a therapist. And it's just the angles that they bring to really make you see things differently. Because when you're like one facing the other, you don't see the other angles that the therapist will throw at you. And I mean, I thought that therapy was stupid. It was for like a couple that's failing, but actually even a strong couple would benefit from therapy.
Yeah,
totally.
They just enhance your relationship and they make you come as a team, come together again, or just, and as relationship evolves, so do we as individuals. So like you said, the interesting part is that if you're both willing to grow, as you will grow, Tim will grow as well, or vice versa. And you guys will keep moving forward in life as a couple instead of one just staying the same and you're like totally changing and flourishing into something else. I think that's really an important point that you guys brought up. And people shouldn't be,
Something else that I see, and I don't know if you see this with your students, but as I've been teaching for 20 years, but something that I often see is students kind of hoping, I don't know if hoping, but okay, just what I see as a yoga teacher is that people come into yoga and almost want it to be like a replacement for physiotherapy, for talk therapy. Like they want it to make everything in their life work.
Yeah.
And the longer I've been teaching, the more strongly I believe that yoga is works best when it complements all those things, right? Yoga, if I have an injury, is not a replacement for rehab, physiotherapy, or yoga therapy, or, working with a good personal physical trainer that's going to help me rehab.
Yeah.
And if I'm going through something that's really big emotionally, then yoga is not a replacement for talk therapy. Even if I'm doing really good trauma-informed therapy that activates the ventral vagus nerve, it's the kind of therapy that my therapist hopes that I'm doing it's the kind of yoga that my therapist hopes that I'm doing between sessions, but it doesn't replace the talk therapy. So, yoga just isn't the be all and end all, but it's great complementary medicine.
No, I totally agree with you. And I've seen that with some students too. And it's like you said, if you're treating anything, if you mix acupuncture with massage, with physiotherapy, with yoga, this is when you're going to get the best results. But if you only do one thing and you disregard the rest, then it's not going to be optimal. So especially more so if people have insurance and they can take advantage of all those nice services that comes with insurance, then yoga will just enhance everything. But you have to do some work from different angles and different providers. Yeah, like you said, different services for sure. Totally agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
So coming back to your business, one of the business model that seems to be striving, and from my observation, is the membership business model. And we see that with Netflix, Spotify, any sort of, company. They've moved away from offering just cost per service to like a membership based subscription. And in doing that, what would be your tips in anybody who wants to create a business? Because this is what you guys used as a model. You create a fan base, then you created a membership, and you involve the membership into something that's sustainable, which is a dream of a lot of entrepreneurs, to just be able to live from what they like. So what are your tips for anybody that wants to start anything out there?
Take this one.
Sure. I mean, I would say that you want to create massive value, right? Just create massive value. That's my biggest takeaway that I've seen. The way that Melissa's content is generated, she's, I know I keep coming back to the fact that she studied at university, a long time ago and did all these wonderful degrees that we don't even have on the wall. We should probably do that at some point. But what that does is it instills in her a work ethic to focus and get reading done and constantly evolving and constantly trying to improve, with the focus being on the membership community as a whole, just ensuring that it's not just one individual, but it's the whole that she's looking at and saying, what does the community need now? And a prime example of that would be when COVID hit for us, sort of March the 15th of 2020. She was looking at, actually, we were in the middle of a series, and we truncated that series and adjusted, and we call it pivoted, and we pivot towards doing things that she felt, and I think she was bang on, creating content that would be supportive of people who were stuck at home, right? Or stuck in a lot of fear, a lot of not sure what was going to happen with their lives. People were, getting sick, and I think it was a really strong and amazing pivot. How about you?
So one thing that I just want to speak to is that I think there's a misconception with membership communities that you set them up and then you have passive income.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's the best case scenario.
Yeah. What I want to say about it is that hasn't been our experience at all. And not that we went into it that way. What it is, if you are setting up a membership community, I mean, I don't know, maybe it is if you're Spotify or something, but.
Or there are also some technical things, right? Like, so for example, there are cameras that I've purchased. All right, 2 cameras that I purchased, and a particular individual had a membership community. It wasn't so much a membership community. It was a buy this and you can log in and get access to these videos that would help me understand that particular camera better. And I could log back in again at any time and keep educating myself on the functions of the camera. But there was no community, right?
Right. So even for them, a membership community it's really not passive income. It's more like farming. So if you decide to take on that model, you're always going to be farming. So, and this is where I think 5-element theory comes in so well, is that there are different seasons to it as well. So it may seem like it's always growth, but that's not true either. So you'll go through seasons of growth, you'll go through seasons of expansion, you'll go through seasons of loss, and seasons of, like, you'll go through the death cycles in them as well. So it's exactly like farming. You're always tending to the fields, you're always planting seeds and weeding and all the rest of it.
It can be heartbreaking. Right?
It's absolutely
people
heartbreaking.
Who have been, members of the community for, many, many years, and all of a sudden just saying, pointing the finger at you, saying that you've done something wrong, and they leave, and then you get 10 new people in and they're raving, but you're still focused on the negative. You're still thinking, oh my goodness, what about that one person who wasn't happy with me? Even though these 10 new people came in and they're thrilled. So,
Yeah.
you know, that still does that ebb and flow of the life cycle that was Melissa was speaking to.
Mm.
And has that happened to you guys?
Oh, it happens every year. Every
Don't you
year.
get that on
That's
your YouTube channel, Matt?
not yet. I'm lucky because
Yeah,
all the
'cause you're small
messages are
still.
always
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
positive, and like I don't get thumbs downs or anything.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
So
this
the-
is very fulfilling, you know?
So the bigger you get, the bigger
Yeah.
the target you are, and the
Yes.
more
You're
the
gonna get
more-
haters.
yeah, and the more projection you get. So what that means
Yeah.
too is that
You have to deal with the negative too.
yeah, people sort of falsely often project what's going on in their lives onto you as well, and yeah, that could be really hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I must say that in the recent years, YouTube's commenting system, for example, if that's what you were referring to, has improved dramatically. So, and I'm actually in charge of all the, you know, YouTube channels, uploading analytics, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, it's not being in charge. It's just Melissa and I have certain lanes that we try and keep into so that we get things done. Because otherwise, if I keep going into her area, then it's only going to slow things down. But no, I found the comments.
Comments are way better than they used
comments
to be.
are so much better. Yeah, in the old
you're
days,
not anonymous anymore.
yeah, it was
You have to
far.
log
Yeah, the
in.
anonymity of it was an issue. But now people actually have to sign in and log in. And sure, there are trolls still, but we haven't. I'm not saying we want them, but we haven't really been targeted.
Okay.
But also, we keep our, you know, just like we have strong boundaries, just like in real life. If somebody came into our living room and took a dump in our living room, we would ask them to leave and we would clean it up. So if that happens in our YouTube space, if it happens in our community space, then we clean it up. And if it happens in our community space, we ask for a face-to-face call about it. Because, it's one thing to be a keyboard warrior, but people will say things to me on the screen that I know they would never say to me face to face. So I always give people the opportunity to say it to me to my face, and most usually they do not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But how do you keep your positivity going in the face of those challenges, and the face of dealing with, because like you said, the bigger you become, the bigger a target you can be. So obviously the more chances you're going to have negative people trying to either bring you down, affect you negatively, throw some mean comments, whatever. How do you deal with that?
There are a couple of things that come to mind. You go first.
Yeah.
So for me, one is that to me, it's a sign of expansion that I am growing if I'm getting more negative comments. And two is Brené Brown's been really useful to me. I'm sure everybody listening, yourself included, knows who Brené Brown is.
Yeah.
And she always says, if you're not in the arena, if I didn't ask you for your opinion, then I don't want your opinion, right? So I always think, would I actually go to this person for their opinion? And usually it's not somebody that I would go to for their opinion. People that I would go to for their opinion are not the people that offer me that kind of mean comments and project their stuff onto me. So then when I come back to that, it's like, well, then it's not somebody's opinion who I would have sought in the first place. So then it's irrelevant, right?
And I think that dovetails really well with the two things that I think about. Number one, Melissa and I are very privileged to be one of two couples involved in a mastermind group. And that has been fabulous. Every Saturday evening, I mean, a lot of people on Saturday night, they're out drinking, having fun, partying, whatever. Yeah. Maybe not during COVID, but we don't. We get together with another couple right now on Zoom, typically in a restaurant environment or what have you. And we'll spend a couple of hours.
Right now.
Pardon?
On Zoom right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, it's, that's been really helpful. And then the other thing is also reading.
Can I just say about one thing about that too, is that one of the people in the couple that we do the mastermind with is trained in the work of Byron Katie. And so anytime I really get in my head about something, he will do the work with me. So that is just a tremendous resource.
Oh, it's been amazing. Yeah.
I'd be actually happy to send you his book as well. He has a book, which
we'll send him a book.
I'll send you his book, man.
Sure.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, awesome. So part of that mastermind group, before we go to the next part. Yeah, what is the mastermind exactly? It's you and another couple just exchanging on your life. Like what does it involve? I'm just, if you could expand on that a bit so I can get the idea. Yeah,
so both couples, we're coming at businesses in a different world. They're developers of apartment buildings and things of that nature. So they're in a different sort of realm completely than our realm. They have an awful lot of experience in real estate. They have a lot of experience in, he has a background in news journalism. And then of course, Melissa and I coming at it from the perspective of, filmmaking, photography, and creating content on YouTube. So there's a real, there's a real, how would you describe it? Sort of just a real uniqueness about it, which is fabulous, because then if we have difficulties or if we have questions about business, we can talk to them about the business, and they have a business focus and they're able to sort of laser in on what the issue is, even though they're not in the same business, they're not into YouTube, right? And I think that's really been helpful to us. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's really helpful to have somebody who's not directly in your field, an outsider's perspective, who can look at your business and give you tips. And also, I would say again that Rick is trained with Byron Katie, but he's also trained with Patrick Fitz, who is he has extensive training with him around creativity, and those two things together, he just has a way of being able to see, when I'm stuck in creative process or something too. So it's really helpful.
I think it's been really powerful, but I think if anybody else is interested in doing masterminds, there's a lot of stuff online that you can look at, but what you want to be looking for is a couple or other couples, if you they're going to commit to the time on every Saturday, and commit to the time and commit to growth, right?
Together.
You're not there just to talk about, politics, right? You're there to focus in on your business. You're there to focus in on your relationship. You're there to help the other couple with something, bounce something around with them. I mean, as long as you're both on this upward trajectory of trying to improve yourselves. And in fact, I was just going to mention, it's a small thing for me. It wasn't a big number 2 by any stretch. And that was, reading. Right now I'm learning about Socrates and reading what Plato had written, and, going back to some of the basics, because what you were speaking about earlier, excuse me, with regards to, what to do with the negative and, those pressing or probing questions that Socrates would pose as he walked around Athens, basically being like an irritant, a fly, if you like, but really trying to grasp, what people really know. And I'm always reminded of that, because I think to myself, here I am focusing on that one individual, right? You can have 100 positive comments come through on YouTube, and there's one person says one thing, and you'll spend that day standing in the shower thinking about it, eating your breakfast thinking about it, the next morning thinking about it.
Negativity bias, it's normal.
What, to obsess about the negative?
Yeah, it's normal.
It's totally normal. But I'm reminded of that, and that just kind of pulls me back. So I think also looking to the teachings of the past, those individuals that you can look to. You don't have to go back to Plato. I mean, whatever it is. If you're interested in real estate, maybe it's Robert Kiyosaki. If you're interested in business mindset, maybe it's Tony Robbins, whatever it is. But I mean, there are mentors out there to be had, but getting together on that regular mentorship, regular mastermind has been amazing, because we're all at the same level, right?
Well, we have strengths in different areas. I think the other thing that we've really gained from them is financial literacy.
Yes, absolutely.
And what they've really gained from us is technological literacy. So.
Yeah, and that aspect, I think that's a beautiful idea, and that's something that people, especially if they're entrepreneurs or anything, would benefit from. But just not only entrepreneurs, but anybody who could commit to something like that, like you said, to growth. and to just exchange on different ideas, and that betters your life, better yourself as an individual. And I mean, that's amazing. And even like you were saying, Tim, reading, like I started reading a lot last year. And I mean, just the amount of knowledge and insights that you get from reading books is incredible. It changes your mind, and then you see things differently, you act differently. It really helps, it really helps. Yeah.
Super powerful.
I think it was Tony Robbins.
Books that you've read in the last year?
Yeah. So I think I was going to finish with Tony Robbins. He read about like 700 books, right? And he said, if you can get one piece of knowledge from every book, then I learned 700 things that bettered my life, And like, I mean, there's so many good books out there. There's oh God, the amount of authors. Like I read all the self-development and books to improve yourself. I've reread Happiness Hypothesis. That was a really good one lately. I don't know if you heard about that one. No. There's all the other ones, like 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Although I'm sure you've read all those books. There's a few there. There's another one with Daniel H. Pink, and I forgot the name of it, but it has to do with the boundaries and helping you with establishing them in your life, and just looking at everything on how you deal with setting up those boundaries. And that's something that was really lacking in my life. I would always feel bad if I would say no, and I felt like I had to justify myself or explain why, versus when you say yes, you don't explain yourself why you're saying yes. So one of the things that changed for me is, if I don't explain myself for saying yes, I don't need to explain myself for saying no. And at least when I say yes, I'm committed to something that I really want to do, something that I want to dedicate time to. And instead of, I would say, just being fake or just getting dragged into something you don't want, you say no, but then next time that you're going to say yes, it's going to be positive, because you will want to be there. And, time doesn't come back, right? So as we age, every day is another day. So if we make a better use of our time and actually dedicate it to the people that we want to spend time with, and then when we don't want to spend time with people, we don't. I mean, we just live a better overall life.
It's cleaner, right? It feels better cleaner for the people we're with.
Exactly, because then you're joyful, you're happy to be there.
Yeah,
it's a yes. You want to be there, instead of just like, I don't want to go to that dinner, I don't like those people, like whatever, and you're just kind of going there backwards, right? So I mean, those books were like, there's so many more, but just on top of my mind like that, I've read a few.
The word no is amazing, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
So powerful.
I'm gonna have to get that book from you on the boundaries. I'm working on that one myself too.
Yeah, are you?
Yeah.
You're good at boundaries.
I'm getting better.
You're good with Tim. Tim, it's no Tim.
Tim feels I'm good.
Yeah, she's amazing at no.
But yeah, what about you guys? What books have changed your life recently, or books that are really helping you out?
Recently I've been on a bit of a no, it sounds weird, a no reading thing, but I've been listening to podcasts more.
Yeah. Well, it's about the same thing, right?
It's resting my mind more. There's a kind of, for me, and I think it's because I'm writing also. So I'm trying not to be as influenced by other people's writing. But I will say, one of my most favorite books, if you guys haven't, for people listening, and if you haven't read it, is Toko Pa Turner's Belonging. It's a maybe lesser known book written by a woman who lives close to here on Salt Spring Island. Absolutely gorgeous book. But a podcast that I'm really loving right now, it's called Tarot for the Wild Soul. And she's just a gorgeous teacher. Okay. She teaches about archetypes and just major themes of life, and I really enjoy that. And there's something about the podcast format that lets your brain float a little bit more than reading. No,
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's more of like listening to a conversation.
Yes.
It's a little more relaxing, because you don't have to concentrate as much as reading a book, right?
Yeah,
definitely.
Because of my background as a PhD, I'm trained to consume large amounts of information, distill them down, and work them through. So there's an urgency to that. So I've just been letting reading go a little bit lately for that reason. And yeah, I do love the podcast for that reason, because it lets me follow a conversation, which feels, I think also maybe because of COVID right now too, feels a little bit more connecting as well.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Tim? What are you reading that's really...
So I think reading wise, the most influential book the last few months was BJ Fogg, Tiny Habits.
Okay.
Have you read that one? If not, excellent book.
No, I haven't.
Really good book. It was one of those books that just helped me sort of figure out what my figuring out why I wasn't getting certain things done, and just helped me to implement a strategy. One of the strategies, for example, was doing yoga on a regular basis. And so that was really helpful. Like Melissa as well, podcasts play a role. Not unsurprising to you would be Joe Rogan's podcast.
Tim Ferriss.
Tim Ferriss is excellent. But the one that was just amazing to me because of his books was Peter Diamandis.
We love Peter Diamandis.
Peter Diamandis has a podcast called Exponential Wisdom.
Do you listen to that one?
No.
Incredible. Tim and I love listening to that one together.
A friend of mine recommended that I read one of his first books about 2014, I think it was, it came out. Peter Diamandis's book, and I read it, and it's not so much that he's a futurist, but he's just looking at what's happening technically in the world of science, et cetera, and saying these are the sorts of things that you should be looking at. And so I was so impressed with that book that when I heard that in 2020 January he had another book coming out, and The Future is Faster Than You Think is what I think that's the title. I'm not very good with titles, but I think that's it. That's it. And that particular book, I was so excited. So I went back and reread the first book, and I realized that he had just nailed it all the way through. And I thought, wow, this is going to be amazing. So I went back and so when the book came out, read that, and some of the things he's been talking about the acceleration, the dematerialization, the demonetization, decentralization, all these, they're the 7 Ds. And he talks about how, the world is changing, when I was a kid, being, able to go to a university and do physics, for example, at MIT, I didn't have the marks. I couldn't have done it. But here I am now in the, 2017, 2018, et cetera, being able to do physics at MIT through, online learning, and it doesn't cost me a dime. So there's that demonetization, things like, DVD rentals and, paying late fees and all that kind of stuff now. The educational system, how the educational system is changing and rapidly changing. So he has the book, which was fantastic. And what I noticed was he was giving a timeline, Matt, of about, the next 3 to 5 years type thing. Yeah. But with COVID happening, certain things just accelerated, and you can see it. It's just been
3 months. Yeah.
I mean, they're happening faster than I thought they would.
Yeah, so, no, definitely.
Yeah. And what he talks about in terms of health care, and also what's going to be available for us in the online space. I just find it incredibly exciting as a kind of healthcare provider and an online deliverer of that. It gets me so excited.
They have a really impactful way of thinking about it, right? Like he's talking about like simple things that I've noticed in my life. Like, for example, I get a massage now on Fridays. I go to a local massage college and get it's not huge amounts of money, but I get a massage every Friday. I look after things like checking blood pressure. I look after things, checking, my weight. What am I eating? I'm still too heavy, but I'm noticing now the weight's coming off, and, I'm doing yoga every day. I start my day off reading. And so it's that culmination of that wisdom that I'm being absorbing and putting into practice that's making a huge difference in my life.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Seriously. Thanks for sharing that. One great book I read, and it was by Tony Robbins, and it was Awaken the Giant Within. Yeah, have you read that one?
Yes.
And one thing that you learn is breaking your patterns. How your behavior, your thoughts, and your emotions are linked together. So you can play with that. Once you understand how the mind works, if you feel a certain emotion, that if you change your thought, you're going to change the emotion. or vice versa. There was one morning, for instance, example, after I read the book, I wake up in the morning and I was just grumpy. I had like poor sleep. I was like, okay, this is not the right way. This is not right way to wake up. I went back to bed, slept another hour. Then I woke up, and I like to start music in the morning and get my coffee. So I start the music, get the coffee. Then I feel good. I change my thought completely because I break the pattern with sleeping in between. And now the rest of my day was wonderful. But having stayed in that mindset and just carrying on with my day the way I woke up that morning would have been awful. So I kind of reset it, knowing that, playing with those, you can just change the way you feel. So that was really a good takeaway from that book that I apply on my day-to-day life, and you see it really more so in kids, how they change their mood so quickly. They cry, you give them a toy or something, boom, they switch, they're happy. And then in the moment of a second, but we're able to do that as adults. And I think we forget as we age how quickly we can change our emotional pathway as well. So that was really a good takeaway from that book.
Yeah. You know what stands out to me about what you just said too, is that we have this habit of like pushing through, right? And if anything Yin has taught me, and what you said, is that if we pause, if we take a step back, right, and take that Yin approach instead, like you went back to bed, you didn't push through and try and make it better, even though it did turn out better. You took that time, you rested, and then you came back. And like, wouldn't we all be better if we just did that, but if we had the courage to take that more Yin approach rather than pushing through and trying to make it better, right? If we really tended to ourselves and cared for ourselves in that way.
Yeah, no, definitely. Even if you like encounter a challenge or something that happens, like, for instance, I was doing some drywall, and it was something new in doing the room for my upcoming baby girl. And I was measuring to put like the little shelves for the books and everything. And it wasn't going through. Like, I made a hole, and then I move, and then there's 2 holes, and then my whole drywall is full of holes, and my shelves are not aligned and doesn't work. So I get frustrated because I'm a perfectionist. Like, I want it to look good. And now I strapped the whole wall. I got to patch it up, repaint it. And I was just frustrated a little bit. So instead of staying in that mood, and trying to push through, like you said, and just like, I just said, okay, I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to do something fun. And then I watched a video on YouTube on how to patch it all up and do it all good and stuff. When I was ready for it, after I took that little moment of break to just change my mindset, because keep pushing it to get the result would have been a disaster. I was just not going to get there with the way I was frustrated about things.
And baby Mila Rose deserves better.
She deserves a nice room.
Yes, she does.
Yes.
She'll be grateful that her dad is doing NLP, right? Like your neural linguistic programming is working out really well. Oh, I was going to mention as well, Rick, our mastermind cohort, as it were, but the author of What is Stopping You is the title of his book. And
that book's definitely changed my life.
We'll post one. We'll put one of those in the post for you.
Yeah, no, awesome. That's exactly what I try to do with this podcast, right? I want to bring just ideas, concept, books, anything the audience can take away to better their life, whatever they're into or they're trying to achieve. So that's why it was really interesting for me to interview you guys as a couple who built a successful business around YouTube. And I mean, that's not something small. Like, that's something you guys have to be proud about. Like, there's so many people trying to do what you guys are doing, and they're not even getting close. So, whatever you did, the way you put it all together worked very well.
It takes time though, right? Like, I think that like in our culture, it seems like these things just happen, but like, remember, we've been doing this for 12 years.
Right. But I mean, that's true that some of these, like if somebody was listening to this and thinking they wanted to, start up a YouTube channel, I would encourage them to do it. I mean, like, one of the channels that I set up just a year ago, I'm standing, you probably can't see me, but behind me, no, I can't. I'd have to move. I'm too big to move. I've got 3 or 4 electric scooters that have been sent up to me for review free of charge. I get to keep them. That's probably $4,000 or $5,000 worth of electric scooters for me to ride around on and try out and review and put those videos up on YouTube. And my channel, that channel's tiny. I mean, I don't even think I've got 1,500 subscribers. So
yeah. So you want to be strategic if you're going to start a channel. That's for sure.
Yeah. Don't do one channel for everything.
No, exactly. And I think just that, like you said, the patience and being dedicated, that's something that's very important. And especially more so the generation we're in, everything's at the snap of a finger. You want everything quick. And we're like conditioned to, if we don't get what we want immediately, then we give up, and you see that in kids. Kids, it's like, if it doesn't happen right away, they don't get the result right away, they're totally discouraged. And I think social media had a big part, and just all the Facebook and everything, and they press a button and everything happens so quickly. And to being unnecessary distractions that make kids not being able to focus. And that's something the generation today is struggling with. Their diagnosis more like ADHD, attention deficit, hyperactivity, and all of that. And I'm not even quite sure that that's something that really exists, that it might be created by the way society operates nowadays. They don't teach patience to kids. You try to get them to read a book, after 2 pages, they want to be on a tablet. They want to look at something else. They get distracted. They're not able to focus. And I mean, that's preventing a lot of people from achieving their dreams or their goals nowadays. So
yeah, it's a real conundrum we're in. We're in a real double bind when it comes to social media, because a lot of us are running our business on these platforms now.
Yeah.
And when we show our lives on these platforms, we're not showing our whole lives, right? We're showing our A roll, not our B roll. And I know I myself this week didn't post on social media for the week because we had just previously gone through, one of the hardest weeks in our entire life. And so I chose not to post because it felt inauthentic. But what people see is, or probably don't even notice that I didn't post because there's so much else going on. So this is a dilemma. There's the Netflix special, the social dilemma. I don't need to explain it to you. We're aware of it, but
I watched it.
It's a big question mark, and I don't know how we're going to move forward from it. Yeah.
No, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, Jodi's on her way. She's going to be excited to see you guys. She's on her way back. So I guess her contractions were not, not there yet. So they don't want to admit it.
Good.
I was waiting, but no, I appreciate so much having you on the podcast today, and you guys taking the time to, out of your busy day, to join me and keep me company in the car for this unusual podcast. I wasn't
very much long form Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss style. It was awesome.
It was really
Thank you for having us.
To talk to you. And, we just wish you and Jodi and baby Mila Rose all the best. It's such an exciting stage of your life. You are going to your hearts are going to explode so much when she comes into your life. It's really exciting.
Sure.
I'm so excited for you guys. So happy for you.
I can still remember.
Oh, it's so amazing.
It was amazing. That was a tear or two shed that morning, I'll tell you.
Yeah, you guys have a daughter. Is she closer to you, Tim? Because I always hear that father-daughter bond, which I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to find out. Is that something that's true?
Oh, it's 100% true.
Yeah.
You'll do anything you can for her.
Yeah, because apparently that's what they say. Yeah.
As soon as we hang up on this awesome podcast, I know that she's already sent me a couple of texts, and I'm just going to delve into my phone and just ensure that everything is Scopa.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, and thanks Melissa and Tim for sending us those little gifts for baby Mila Rose. That little giraffe, Jodi was talking about it, and she's like, nobody bought the giraffe. And she was like so deceived about not getting the giraffe, because apparently that's such an amazing.
That is the thing. The baby is gonna love that.
Yeah, no, but thank you so much. It really meant a lot for us, and she was all surprised. And as soon as we hang up from this podcast, if you stand on the line, I'm just gonna grab her around the corner and allow her to give you guys a quick talk.
Awesome. Well, nice chatting with you.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks
Bye.
for having us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.